Hey guys, sorry, took a minute for me to get in. Okay, I am going to record this meeting. All right. We'll get Hannah in here. Good morning. Good morning. Good evening to our admin team. All right. We are going to go ahead and just launch in. This will not be shouldn't be a really long meeting. We just want to touch bases on some things. One of them, does anybody, I'll just open us in prayer if that's okay. That way I'll do it and that way we can get rolling. Okay, let's pray. Lord, Father, we just thank you for the blessings that we have. This job is a blessing, Lord, these families, and especially these children. We have such a privilege to inspire these kids. And that is something that we don't take lightly. And Lord, give us the thoughts, the creative ideas, the heart, and the temperament and the patience to really grow the story that is inside of all of them, Lord. We thank you for this team, for all their hard work. And in Jesus' name we pray. Amen. All right, guys. Let's start off with the kind of the big one that we need to get resolved is AI. So, AI obviously has been emerging for the last year or two to where everybody has access to it now. Everybody's kind of figured it out. And obviously, it's always been a thing where we do not allow AI in your writing. Okay, so that's a thing. But one of the things that we've noticed, we have a particular student in high school who started doing all his novel planning with AI. And here's something about the AI checkers was I knew it because I recognized instantly. And I put it in an AI checker and it came back at like less than 10%, like 2%, 3%, something ridiculous. I was like, no, I know that this is AI for many reasons. So I went to a different checker. I think I put it in the biggest, most popular one. I forget what it was. But then I went to another one. I put it in and it came out 60% AI. I knew it was higher than that. The thing with fiction's a little harder to detect AI because there's not the traditional language, academic language. So I'm telling you, it was, I think what this student probably did is put in a few ideas and had it create this entire, like, all the theme, conflict. It planned out everything for this student. Okay. And then they shared it on KWN. So a couple of problems with that. Not in order of importance, but that kind of thing makes other students feel bad. Like, wow, look at what you've done. Now I'm not doing that. There's something wrong with me, my story planning. They feel inferior. It's the same thing that you see when you have a student. And Christian, you're going to see this really when it hits the illustration, area, because that's where you see a huge divergence of talent. And Christian, you've taught this before to kids, so you're good to go. But one of the things we really have to do is you guys do have to be very hands-on to protect at some level the intimidation that kids can feel. So you see this a lot with word count. I had a student, Johanna, last year who hit the maximum KDP word, like page count, like they would not publish her novel. She was over, and it's like 800 some pages. It was ridiculous. So that's what she did. And I have another student, Micah, who did like 23 or 24,000 words per chapter. All right. And one of the things you see on KWN is they're like, oh, I've got this many words in my chapter. What do you guys have? And then you'll always inevitably see the person. Usually those are the people with the higher word count post that. Then you'll inevitably be somebody like, oh, I suck. I only have 900 words. That's the kind of thing we really want to be mindful of, with their posting on KWN. And I always hop in on those and I'm like, look, guys, I've read books that are, by students that are 80 and 90,000 words. And I've read books that were maybe 12,000 words. And sometimes, plenty of times, those 12,000 are written better. It's just a better quality of writing. So word count does not equal quality of writing. All right. You just talk too much, maybe. I don't know. I don't say that part, but you know what I'm saying? Like I talk too much, so I identify with that. So you got to really be mindful. And this comes out mostly on KWN. And we're going to talk about like monitoring KWN in a second. But so the AI thing. The other problem is we haven't even taught on those subjects and they're already planning it out. So it's just like people are talking about subjects. I know even in my advanced class, somebody, one of my students posted in KWN, and advanced class is a very different model. All of these kids have been in the program before. It's a different model, but somebody posted, what's your character's fatal flaw? And I kind of got on there, and several people were, and got on there. I was like, hey guys, let's not jump ahead of the topics that we have taught in class, because there's a lot you're going to learn here, and you need to filter your, what you think through that lens. Okay. I don't mind you guys thinking about this stuff ahead of time. That's great. But try not to cover the topics too much. So if they're talking about central conflict and stuff we haven't taught, that's fine. But I'm saying that by and large, I try to keep them not getting too far ahead. Because again, then the intimidation factor really kicks in. We cannot be the intimidation police. Some kids, I mean, the fact that this country has a term called microaggression just boggles my mind. I'm like, what does that even mean? So we can't like make everybody feel good about themselves, but we can at least stick to the planning and the timing and the structure that we have. So AI, I know we need to deal with. Karis, it's one of your students. I do have a tentative AI policies and procedures that we are going to publish. Probably Ariel and I will fine tune that. By tomorrow, we will publish it on the on across KWN, and it'll go out in the LMS email to everybody. Now, Karis, what are your thoughts on this? Is not to put this kid down. My guess is he just didn't know. A lot of kids do not read the etiquette. They don't listen. However, AI has always been something I talked about in class. We didn't put a lot of it in writing because we haven't really faced somebody using it like at this level. Karis, what are your thoughts in terms of you can talk to the family, but if they kind of get upset, that decision wasn't made by you, it was made by me. So what are your thoughts on dealing with this issue?
Yeah, I think that's a good place to start. I mean, I can just get in contact with the parents and obviously the kid as well, like so that everybody's looped in and just kind of let them know that that is violating, like our guidelines or however we want to phrase it. And then, you know, whatever their reaction is, like I honestly don't really care. I'm just like, I just want to make sure that, they're doing what they need to do and we can help them because we obviously can't really help them as much if they're generating an entirely AI story. Like they're just not getting the most out of the class, and I want him to be able to get the most out of the class. So
Okay.
yeah, that sounds fine to
We'll
me.
we'll let you know by tomorrow if this student contacts anybody. So Karis or Ariel, if they contact anybody, straight up refer them to me because we don't have the policy finalized, but I hope to have it finalized by tomorrow. So he has been removed from the spaces, but not banned. This is not a punitive thing that we're doing. We're just removing him because he did multiple posts. One of them was over the weekend, which leads into KWN. So look, I know that I want to reiterate that KWN and the student participation directly affects the student experience in this entire program, directly affects it. Most kids love it, like most of them. A lot of the comments I get after the fact, this is our third year using KWN. Across the board, students like this is one of their favorite aspects of the class. So it's your job to foster that community, which doesn't take a lot of time. You know what I'm saying? Friday with Friends is a great one. Just because they want so badly to talk about their personal lives, but we've got to keep that controlled. So Friday with Friends is a great option because you can set up a few of them ahead of time and it'll automatically post late Thursday night or early Friday morning. And those are usually the ones where boom, boom, boom. I think in high school, we had a lot of kids because we didn't have like graphic novel and short story, so we had a big high school body. But I mean, I think it would be like 87 comments by Friday evening. Like it was a lot of kids, like love that. So that's one area. But when it comes to I go on KWN. I'm going to be honest with you guys. I don't like having to be the policeman for all the spaces. I go on KWN at least once a day and then sometimes twice. And I don't particularly enjoy it, but I know how necessary it is. So any posts that are off topic, and we've had a lot of them, and high school is always going to be your biggest issue because these students are way more independent. They get way more electronic time on their own. And they're also at an age where they are deeply craving social interaction. And for some kids, that kind of manifests as 6 or 7, 8 posts a day. And they're very nonsensical posts. These are sweet kids, but they're very like, bless them. But what happens is that wall gets so crowded, as you guys know, and it's not as big of a deal now, but it will become a very big deal, especially, formatting. They start to like lose brain cells when we start talking about formatting. And Christian, you're probably going to see, more of this. I don't think you've taught the live digital class before. You've taught live in person, or at least a lot. You've taught live in person, and then you've done video teaching. But to have the interaction where you explain something in detail through Zoom, and then it seems like maybe 50% actually listen to you, that is a recurring issue that we have always had in this program. So KWN is great for that because they can go on there and ask questions, and then they can get answers from other students that do pay attention. All right, that's been kind of the experience. But you guys, it is super important that you keep that wall clean so that they get in the habit, because it can get out of control. It can get straight up out of control. For those of you that remember teaching when the chat was open and anybody could chat during class and everybody would see it, and it'd be like, oh my gosh, like they would blow it up, and you'd be like, okay guys, nobody put anything in the chat, and they would all blow it up. And it was just like, okay, we had to shut that down to where they can't chat in class. They can't comment to where everybody sees that. KWN is very necessary, especially for students who really need help. Their posts just get buried, like buried, especially middle grade and then high school, buried, and they never get the answer they need. You guys need to be going through and scrolling once every day. That just fits your office hours, because it literally will take you 5 minutes maybe to just scroll, through everything. I'm finding a ton of them right now. Ton being like just a lot of kids that obviously didn't read the rules. If they start doing it multiple times, we will email them, and that's usually Kiara does that. Kiara manages KWN for the most part. It's an admin team thing, but Kiara primarily handles that. She will email them and kind of remind them, hey, here's the etiquette, please read it, blah, blah, blah. Banning people, or not banning, we don't really ban. When we remove students from a space, it is mostly to stop the behavior until we can deal with it, because it's a big deal or it's a violation. Here's what I want to say about KWN is we've had very few incidents, but we have had them, and one of them was a little more serious. And the problem is, I think last year, 1 or 2 of them, I found out because a parent emailed me, and we do not ever want a parent to be the one that discovers the problem. And it was a kid on KWN who told their parent, and the parent emailed us. So we missed it. Now, it was the kind of thing where it wasn't like, oh, it was posted 3 days ago. But we really want to avoid a parent saying like, hey, you say you monitor this space, but this kid's on there talking about committing suicide, and we don't know what to do. And that did happen last year. I had a student that was talking about it kind of in the comments, and it was presented a little, it just concerned a student or two who reached out to me. I didn't catch it because it was in the comments. So, I mean, we can only do so much. Do your best, guys, but you do need to be more diligent to check that, especially at the high school level, because that's the one where they are older and you get a huge diversity of beliefs and morals at the high school level versus the younger kids. So any questions on, and you guys should all read the etiquette if you don't know. I did go back and add something about the AI because I don't think that was in the etiquette. The etiquette was written 2 or 3 years ago. So any questions? Yes, Karis.
So should we be checking it 7 days a week then?
Um,
Or because I've been doing Monday through Friday. So
yeah, Monday through Friday is all you're required to do. I will go on and check on the weekends. It's all you're required to do. I don't really tell you you have to, but if you're noticing, I would say in the beginning, if you're noticing a trend, It's your call if you want to spend 5 minutes on a Saturday. I have KWN on my phone so I could check it as needed, and I will pop on a weekend and I will just scan real quickly and then I'll pop off. I don't use that time to answer a lot of questions or detailed questions. Those can wait, short things, but I'm mostly looking for content. So I'm gonna leave that up to you. We do not require you to check on the weekends, but you just kind of need to get to know your students. And if you think it's gonna be a problem, then set aside a little bit of time if you can. I don't think 5 minutes on the weekend kills anybody, but at the same time, you would not be in any kind of trouble if you didn't check on the weekend. One of those posts, Karis, came in on a Saturday for your class. And I think it came in on Saturday at some point on Saturday. So that's why it was there. And Sunday was like the first time I didn't check it at all, this last Sunday, because I just took the entire day off. But yes, okay. Any other questions about AI or KWN? I do intend to send out that email to everybody. And Karis, we won't deal with this particular kid until that full email gets sent out, and then I'll decide how we'll address the student and the parent. Like I said, I'm assuming the kid just didn't really think it was bad. I don't know. And it also helps to get familiar with AI, for you guys. Like I picked it up instantly. Well, there was too much. But if you use ChatGPT, because I use it all the time to I'll have like tons and tons and tons of notes, like paragraphs. And I'll use ChatGPT to turn that into like bullet point, kind of study notes. So I can use that to make my slides. I use it all the time, and it always uses the exact same formatting, the same font. So this kid had the same like point size on his header fonts. He had the exact same bullets that AI uses. Like I recognize the formatting immediately, and that was my first clue. So you guys got to get familiar with AI things a little bit. But again, we want to be diligent, but we're not the police on this. They're paying for the class. They're going to get what they get out of it. Yes, Christian.
Yes. So you all have clearly been able to see what some of your students have made already. Right now, I've been having, because most of their homework is done in workbook and it's checked by parents, I've just had them read some of their stuff.
Mm-hmm.
What method do you guys use when you do want them to turn in something for you to kind of comb through?
Yeah, really, really good. Graphic novel will always be just a little bit different, but you guys in graphic novel do have 2 stories that they have to submit. So yeah, parents check the workbook. And so when they submit their stories, Christian, and we'll be covering this probably in a meeting next month's meeting, because then we'll be getting pretty much ready to submit. So we'll be covering formatting and submissions. In the LMS, there is an upload assignment function, and where they upload Microsoft Word documents, and that's where you can go and just kind of do a quick check. We usually mark them for, like on the novel end of it, we're checking for formatting, not as much content, but I will pull things up and do quick searches for words. Like at the high school level, I'd have to check for foul language. I would have to check, I'd go, I'm on a Mac, Command F, kissing, any type of kissing type scenes. I'd want to make sure I checked. So it'll be through the LMS. Your students do have the short stories. That's probably where you need to be, just kind of check it. But once they actually like are doing their script for the graphic novel, it gets pretty simple for you. At that point, you should have them upload their script in the LMS. If they want to handwrite things, they can still take a picture. And I'll double check on this. I kind of forget from last year. They should be able to upload an image as well. So you'll start seeing those here pretty soon. And then the illustrations, you and I are going to have to kind of figure that out. You'll have to educate me a little bit on some of the modes so we can decide how they'll submit, and maybe they share or whatever. But I don't think, Christian, any real illustrating starts until this spring semester. Is that correct?
So originally that was the plan. What I'm discovering with this group is, yes, they like to write. They signed up with the classes to draw. So
Right.
I did like a drawing exercise once, and now they're like, hey, when can we draw again? So I would like to explore the possibility of being able to upload art. I think that would increase the amount of engagement.
Yeah, I love that. And so I would say this is your opportunity to push them onto KWN. KWN makes your life a lot easier because you're not required to comment and you know what I'm saying? Like they're getting a lot of support from each other, which is that community aspect. So I think that's fantastic. If you want to start incorporating some art now, totally your call. As long as they get those 2 stories done, because that's a little bit of the English language arts that we need. As long as they get those 2 stories done in that reasonable time frame that you think, then yeah, and then use KWN to for the art. And then if any student is super shy and doesn't want to share, but that's the other thing, guys, in writing, in art, our policy is we do not force anybody to publicize their creation. So if you have a student who really, really, really does not want to share either art or their story with anybody, we never single them out. That is something that, homeschool kids, by and large, you will get students that struggle emotionally, mentally, and we are not all trained in psychology on the best way to deal with it. So our blatant rule is we don't force anybody to talk in class. We don't force anybody to share their writing, and we don't force anybody to share their, now drawing with the whole class. So Christian, you can make that decision, but definitely push them a KWN for the art. If you trust me on this, it'll make your life a lot easier, and it ups their joy in the class. It kind of stinks having middle grade and high school separate because they're smaller groups, but we definitely have to keep them separate when it comes to graphic novels. Okay, awesome. All right, contractor invoices. You guys are, what is our date? Contractor invoicing, those were sent out. Ariel, if you could please sometime today send out the contractor invoice link for those that might have had it buried in their email somewhere. So you guys, every month after your last class has been taught, you can submit your invoice. It doesn't mean I'm going to necessarily do it faster. I have to kind of wait for everybody. But in this particular case, it kind of stinks because the last day of the month is the last class, a Tuesday. So if you have a Tuesday class, it's September 30th. Christian, I think you can submit it anytime after the 25th tomorrow. You can submit your contractor invoice on there. When you are calculating it up, I double check everything you put on there. Those contractor invoices are more for my record keeping. You need to make sure that you are whatever agreement we have in your contract. So anything that's administrative hours, which I know Karis and Hannah have these administrative hours that have one rate, and then they have instruction hours that have another rate. So just make sure those are separated, and for every class hour that you teach, you get an automatic hour of office hours paid at that instructional rate, okay, which is a very high rate. So for office hours, which is KWN and emails pretty much. So just make sure for every hour of class you are billing for 2 hours. And then if you have a different formula or a different agreement is specified in your contract, you know what that is and you fill it out. We are not going to go into everybody because I think you all are on a little different, on what's going on because of the different of the classes, when you were hired, responsibilities, etc. Okay, staff meetings. So I know that Rachel cannot ever be here, or at least not for the near time being, on Wednesday mornings, but we have typically done Wednesday mornings at 9 a.m. We are absolutely going to be done by 10. When we get into the formatting and that meeting next month, I think what I'm going to do is make a video for the formatting and then just give you guys that to adjust. Some of you are familiar with it last year. This year we are making some changes. Their indent is not going to be 0.5. It's going to be 0.375, which is correct for a 5x8 trade book size. Christian, yours will be different. But for that formatting, in fact, Christian, I might not even have you be at that per se because it's not going to affect you. But for that formatting, we are changing it up. One of the biggest issues I've seen with kids going to get published is KDP defaults to a 6x9 size automatically, and a lot of them don't change it, even though it's a 5A. So these books that I'm seeing when they bring them to the conference or send them to me, I'm seeing books that have a massive margin because they are formatted in InDesign for a 5x8, but they're printing a 6x9 and it just looks weird. And then if they didn't write a really big book, it is so super thin as a 6x9. So We'll cover that next week. You are getting paid for meetings. If you are on the hourly, that is at the administrative rate. So whatever the length of our meeting is, you add that in. So when you do your contractor invoice, you will add this meeting in at the administrative rate. So I think we're going to just go ahead and keep it Wednesdays at 9 a.m. unless you had any issue with that. Yes, Hannah.
Sorry, I am like getting ready kind of as I'm
Yeah, no worries.
So I'm curious, how does like substitute hours work with that? Is it like lumped in with our hours that we have already, or is it like you add an additional instruction hour, or how does that work?
Yeah, really good. So it's a 1 hour because we don't pay admin hours to the substitute themselves. So they're getting the hourly rate for that one class. So if it's an hour and 15 minute, I think we actually have it as is it a flat rate? I'll have to double check. But so I know you were gone that first week. And so you would subtract just 1 hour of instruction from that. And then the person that subbed for you would get added 1 hour because middle grade is an hour-long class. I'll go back and double check because, to be honest, we haven't done any subs in, a very long time. So I have to actually go back and double check because we used to have a different, I think the rate on the contract was like, it was just a flat $35 per hour because we did formulas last year, but it was a flat $35 for substituting fees. So pretty sure that's it. I will double check that. So for example, Karis covered X amount of time for you. She would get, the 35, for the classes that she covered. And on mine, I'll talk to you about mine. You don't have to add my hour in there, the one I covered. So, okay. So any other questions on contractor invoicing? No? Okay. The author visits. Okay, so you guys, we have author visits once a month. Christian, I'm excited. We did invite a graphic novel author who is coming. Kiara, can you remind me what month? I think it's December. We have James Nguyen from Alpha Red. If you can confirm, you can pop a note, hopefully, in the chat. Oh, I'm just now seeing all the chat. My bad. If you've been chatting me. Sorry, Karis, I'm just now noticing. Do you guys hate the chat function now? I despise the Zoom chat. I don't know if that affects you, Christian. I despise it. I absolutely hate it. Like, I can't do so many functions because I can't tell when it's just a notification instead of a stream. When it's a notification, a lot of my kids will just make comments. They're not questions, but they just comment on something I've said. And I'll be like constantly distracted trying to read comment. I cannot stand it. Okay. All right, Ariel. Okay, so let me tell you real quick the author's visits, just so you know. In October, we have a unique author's visit. I really want you guys to promote it in your classes. Christian, you can kind of throw that out there for anybody who, some of your students, Christian, have talked about wanting to write a novel, but they want to do the graphic novel first. So it's definitely something you want to kind of mention. And these always go in the newsletter. Unfortunately, our October one didn't go in because we weren't sure by the time we sent out the September newsletter. So they usually go in the newsletter the month before, the parent newsletter. So in October, we are actually doing, in fact, this year we're switching it up a little bit even more. We are featuring Ruby. She was our middle grade contest winner of the KWN novel writing contest. So Ruby, in fact, for those of you that have not seen her book, this is the book that we published for her. I don't know, it's kind of, there we go. This is the book that we published for Ruby, and we will be marketing and promoting this. We are the publisher. As a publisher, we don't usually publish these types of novels, but our distribution market is specifically in the homeschool community. So we're not publishing wide and far per se. This is obviously a novel written by a student, but it's been through our editing services twice. It's also been through multiple revisions. So we have given it the publishing process, but it's still a first-time debut novel. So we're not marketing this to the country. This is just an excellent example of like what our program can produce. This is an excellent example, and that's how we're going to be marketing it. So we are having her as our first author. She is going to come and talk to all the students, especially the novel writing ones. Hey, this is what I want to tell you about, what you're about to experience. This is the things that I learned from it. These are the things, if I could do it again, I would change. So this will be great for your students. That information, Ariel, when you send out the email with the contractor invoice, you can have kind of some stuff. If you guys will just put the schedule of the author visit. November is Cajun Kids. They're very popular. December, Alpha Red. That's the one, Christian, that you can definitely highly promote to all the graphic novel students. We let authors choose a Tuesday or a Thursday. These are always at 6:30 to 8. Okay, so Alpha Red is a popular Christian comic. He writes, but he uses an illustrator, but he can illustrate. He can illustrate. He just doesn't do his own illustrations. So he is the author of the Alpha Red comic book series. They're great. We have sets of his first one. And so many of your students, Christian, in fact, have a copy of it. So, and then January, our own Rachel Newhouse, which is how I actually first connected with her, was to do an author visit. Then she ended up working for us. So Rachel has published self-published 13 books. She actually is very successful as a self-published author. She's almost at the point where she doesn't have to work anymore because she's, sustaining herself on that, which is a big thing. So I want them to hear from her. And right now in February, we'll have one of my favorites, Brian Davis. So just to let you know, the author visits, those are really good to make sure. I will not be necessarily leading those anymore. Hannah will be, I think we talked about, will be handling the October one. So most likely Hannah and I will talk about that, but we always MC that. Instructors, you are not required to be there, of course. It's totally if you want to check it out for any reason. It's always great to hear these authors as they're doing the FAQ sections, about 20-25 minutes of them teaching or talking, and then it's FAQ, or it's a Q&A. So that's always really interesting to hear. Okay. Sharing the Zoom link for class. Some parents have requested access. Here's my problem, and I want to hear back from you guys. If we send out the Zoom link, and I know you guys have been doing it, and I've never sent out the Zoom link ever, because I believe there's no security outside of you. So that's the reason why, because if you go into the LMS, they have to log in before they can get to the Zoom class. That is what I've always said, like, hey, here's our security protocol. But if you give out the Zoom link, then anybody and everybody can always access that class. So if we cut somebody off and they're suspended because they haven't made a payment, they're behind, whatever. So if we have to suspend their account, they can still get into class. That's kind of a problem. It's not a huge problem, but that's kind of a problem with sending out the Zoom links. Does anybody have anything different, or am I misunderstanding anything about that? So if you've given them out, they're out there. I think one of the biggest issues is parents are like, oh, I can't figure the LMS out. I don't want to do it. Well, that's not a good reason, because we do it for security purposes. Yes, Hannah.
So, if we it's not as much of an issue now that we're kind of like a little bit into the year, but for like future reference, if like we're not giving out the link, what is the protocol whenever we get like a panicked parent email 5 minutes before class or 5 minutes into class saying that they can't log on? Like, because I've always just been like, okay, here, like, let me shoot you the link real quick.
Mm-hmm.
Which I mean is fine if like we're not going to, but like what should we do for those parents? Because they're usually already strict.
Yeah, it's in the first 2 weeks that it absolutely happens. And so what Ariel and I are talking about is, for all of you that get those panic parents the day of, they have not been reading or anything. We did send out the LMS how to access the live, class. They just don't watch the video. And sometimes, though, they sign up after school starts and they get such a barrage of information. So I think part of this is my fault, not that I made a mistake. I just didn't think in advance. The parent orientation needs to have that included, how to navigate to the class. So The way I feel right now, and this is where we're going to be at as of today, is we're going to leave that link alone. But next year, we are going to have a hard line. And you guys will actually like that because you do not have to answer any emails that are panicked 5 minutes before or an hour before. We're going to make sure parents get that information. And in fact, Ariel, add that to our ongoing list of things for next year to change. I think we are going to send out an LMS wide email a few days, just a couple days, maybe even on the like Saturday before we start. Here is only the video to show you how to access your classes. We will not be answering emails like the day of, you know what I'm saying, or whatever. So I'm going to eliminate you guys having to do that. They're just going to have to be responsible because it's just gotten out of control. You guys, if you had any idea, if you think you had emails panicked, do you have any idea how many emails we get? We are still occasionally getting an email from a parent, help, I can't log in, it doesn't work, blah, 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 because a parent's using their own parent login for a student account. And it just, one parent, I think Ariel did it 2 times. 2 times she kept doing the same thing. And Ariel helped her the first time. Oh, thank you, thank you. Comes back a week or two later, whatever. I can't log in, blah, blah, blah. Same thing. So it's an ongoing issue, but if you guys have those problems, that's what we'll do. Yes, Karis.
I was just gonna say, actually, this is kind of the same thing as Hannah, and that's just helpful to know because I can, you know me, I'm not as nice sometimes, so I'm just like, hey, if you can't do it, sucks to be you. Like,
Yeah.
but then I'm like, I need to be nicer, but sometimes I'm like, oh, I should be nice and kind of like suck more nice than I'm just not as naturally that way.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's really helpful. And I will say, I think the video would be helpful because I think in class last week, and I think only one of my classes, I actually like after class was over, I had some kids like not able to get into stuff. And I will say, I think the kids are mixing up what KWN is and what the LMS is because of the acronyms. I've noticed that I don't know if anyone else's kids have or if they've seen that, but they keep asking me like, where's the Zoom link? And they're referring to KWN. And so what I actually did was I pulled my screen up on Zoom, like in class, and I was like, this is KWN, this is LMS, this is where you go. Because I have all these kids like, where's the homework? Where's the class recording? Where's this? Where's this? I think they're confusing the two.
Yeah.
Just because of the acronyms, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah,
Which
they
is
are.
fine. Like it's not a big deal, but they'll get it. But I did that and that was helpful. So
Yeah.
I did think about that as well for like next year of some kind of, I don't know, something to like just show them like here's a video or something to just show them everything. So I think that'd be real helpful.
Yeah, definitely. We have a lot of problems on administrative side, KWN versus LMS. That is something that I think Ariel and I have already put on our list. The problem is they're getting so much information in the beginning that they won't read it. And so we're like, okay, either we do KWN like 2 weeks before school starts so that they're all getting on, they can introduce themselves. It's nice when they're on KWN getting to know each other for when you start class. Or we just hold KWN for 2 weeks and have them start signing up after, which is more where I'm leaning towards because they're kind of settling into the LMS. And then we're like introducing KWN, like, yep, we'll be launching this, mid-September. So we will make that decision because, yes, I definitely agree with you. They're mixing the two up. This year, you guys, we had a record number of families that signed up a few days, like kind of the week before classes started, but after classes started. Like, I think I'm still this past weekend getting emails, hey, tell me about your program. I'd love to join. We had a record number of people signing up, and it is so difficult. Like, this was a hard year with the volume of people that signed up. I think the LMS has us at like 399 active students right now. So yeah, we'll be working on that for sure. So for now, you can share the Zoom links, but try not to. If somebody asks you for it, please try to direct them to the LMS. I mean, the cat's out of the bag because that was never a policy before, but this is the first year I'm seeing way more parents are like, I don't know what to do. So it didn't have to be a policy before because it was super rare. And I think last year we had a power outage, or I'm sorry, last year the entire LMS system was down on day one. Do you guys, actually, Hannah, I think you're the one that was here. The entire LMS was down. Nobody could access anything. And Class 365 wasn't even barely answering emails. They were like, it was so frustrating. I think it took them 2 days to get it back up. So we had to send out Zoom links. So, it was already out there last year, but this year I'm noticing it's becoming a problem. So, okay. The admin team will be, okay, there's a note here about Ruby and KWN. The admin team will be setting up the author visit information ahead of time, but that will be done with the invite. So Kiara and Ariel, we will talk about number 7 on the agenda. We'll talk about that with just the admin team. Okay, that's one of the things, guys, is we want these author visits. So one of the things we're trying to do, we'll be launching writing labs. I'll be talking to Rachel Newhouse, who will be conducting the writing labs. We are going to use students who are in the advanced program or graduated to come on and be basically advisors answering their questions. So the writing labs are for if you have students who, and Christian, if you decide you're like, hey, I'd love to have a writing lab that is more geared for the graphic novel class, you and I can talk about that. Here's what the writing labs are really for. Students want help on their particular novel, like their very customized questions. We don't really have class time to do that because the amount of time it takes them to just explain it. And one thing I've noticed, you guys have been doing this for over a decade now. One thing I've noticed is kids over-explain all the details about their story before they ask their question. And the other thing is other students, a few are interested, but most other students are not super interested at that point. You know what I mean? They might be interested in the first kid who asks, maybe the second, but by the third, fourth, and fifth, they're done. Okay. And so that affects the impression about our program is when we give too much direct attention. Plus, you guys are only being paid, for those of you, who have these instructor hours, you're only being paid for so much, and we're not going over that. So don't take up your time answering super personalized. And this is essentially developmental editing. You guys know the difference between copy edit and developmental edit. Developmental edit is where these kids want to go. Oh, it's my idea and I don't know. So one of the things we want to try this year is a writing lab, but we can't take the resources, which is my whole point. Instructional hours bring money in the door. It's our main source of income, right? Instructional hours bring money in the door. Anything that's administrative takes money out the door. Okay. As a business owner, I have to balance. Like if we get more money going out or equal going out that we have coming in, it's really tough to run the business. So every extra thing we do takes money. The authors' visits have been very popular. The kids really love them. I actually enjoy them. I love hearing from these authors with very different perspectives and very different, traditionally published, self-published, now a graphic, or a comic book, you know what I mean? I love that. The writing lab is going to, again, take resources. So we want to, I'm always looking how I can streamline the things that are taking our resources and make sure we're getting the maximum benefit for the lowest resource that it's taking. Okay, so because of that, we're going to utilize students who have already been through the program and they have tons of ideas. And so your students can join the writing lab for free. These are going to be run like once or twice a week. They're about an hour long and it'll be small groups on Zoom. And the kids will get very direct help from the students, and Rachel will be overseeing all of that. So that's kind of what we're doing. That's what I would say. You guys should kind of be pushing some of those developmental things. Now, the problem is going to be logistics. Like we start writing, and even Christian, your students should be, already starting on their short stories. We start doing this at week, I think 8 or 10, I forget. I know we adjusted the schedule for last year, and advanced writing does not have that schedule at all. But for kids that are like, if this gets booked up and they're like, I couldn't get a lab for, 2 or 3 months. So if that's what happens and they can't get their questions answered, that could be a problem. I don't have an answer right now, guys. This is a brand new idea. I can't expend too many resources, but I want to help these students. So one of the things that we talked about last year in our meeting was We have to make sure, and I think Karis, you mentioned this in an email with Hannah, which is absolutely, we have to make sure these kids are not slacking off on the planning phase when they, because then they'll start writing and they drop out, they get stuck, and then you end up expending more time trying to get them up to speed. So, and it affects the program. So here's what I would say. One of the other things is push those kids to KWN. Push them over to KWN, right? They can help each other with ideas. That is the best developmental editing, not the best in terms of experience, but it's the best in terms of they're essentially giving advice as readers at that point. They're not authors yet, but they're giving advice as readers, and that's excellent, and it comes fast. So I would push a lot of these developmental editing questions over to KWN in terms of that. So yes, Karis.
Yeah, so that was actually kind of my question was I do have a lot of students who are already wanting to write. I have a student who's already asked, like, can I start writing? And I I always tell them like if you want to, start free writing to kind of figure out what POV you want to pick or figure out your character voice a little bit. Like it's fine if you want to go like doodle in a notebook, like do some things. But I've just told them like there's a strategy to this that I'm teaching you to do, and I've used the example of like it's like building a house. You have to like lay the foundation before you build the walls, before you do the drywall, everything. So I've told them that almost every single week, just to kind of help them understand and just keep repeating it because you have to repeat stuff over and over for them.
Yeah.
But I guess like is that okay? Is there maybe another? I know I could maybe push them to KWN to start, like you're saying, brainstorming, but is there anything else I could do or any other kind of response that I should have to just like make sure that they can, like I said before, just setting themselves up for success, essentially.
Yeah, because it's funny, again, that nothing has changed in the decade. Me teaching in person or me teaching online, nothing's changed, right? You are holding their bridle like they are a thoroughbred at the gate, and you are like holding them back. And then right at week 4, you got the whip, and you're just like smacking their butts, trying to like, okay, you got to write, every year, every time. So what I do is now I have over 10 years of teaching this exact class, but Karis, you have done this, and you guys who went through the Authors Conservatory, you've gone through the process of writing, right? So what I say is like, look, guys, I know you're super excited to start, but I need you to trust me that you haven't even learned some of the details about the inciting incident in chapter 1 that are not in the book. Most of the things I'm going to be teaching you in class are not in the book. And then your other suggestion was excellent. Like, so one of the exercises, and you guys could try this. And Christian, I think this might even, you can have a version of this if you have some kids like chomping at the bit in art or maybe even parts of their story. Because that's the problem in graphic novel too, is they're always thinking of the visual storytelling, sometimes more than the story, and we want to make sure they're understanding what makes a really good story. So one of the exercises I do in advanced writing is like a free writing, and it's kind of like a journal, but I would call it like a diary. So we were talking about, like, we're in the section of advanced writing where we are talking about the internal conflict and the basically trauma, reaction to trauma, internal conflict, fear, misbelief, right? All of these things, the fatal flaw, right? All of these things. So one of the things I had them do yesterday, and I asked them for their reactions, and they all were like, wow, pretty much they all had a little different say, but all of them are like, I'm going to start doing this for every, character or whatever is. I was like, okay, it's because we really want to deal with the fear in characters a lot of times, right? Because the fear is what really drives their decisions and the choices they make. And fear is one of the core in the emotion wheel. Fear is at the, one of the core emotions, right? And so I had them journal like they were journaling in their diary. I said, imagine like the worst thing, your character's greatest fear, the worst thing that could ever happen to them happens, like it happened to them, and they have to journal after the fact, and like a therapy session, and have them. And so my characters were like, or my students were like, oh, and so it very much internalized suffering and pain. So you can do that kind of exercise. You can teach them, especially at the high school level, you can definitely teach them that and versions of that. Just say, look, you guys, these types of diary journaling for your characters are going to help you so much when you get to the messy middle. Um, because we talk about subplots, just say, start doing these journals for each of your characters, and you're going to be able to use that material when you start writing. So have them do some of their background writing. I know in advanced, they will actually write out the whole backstory for their character that will never see the pages except in the drip, drip, drip. I'm a huge fan of the drip, drip method of backstory, which I think everybody knows. Everybody knows the drip, drip method, right? So that's what I would do for those chomping at the bit. So excellent, excellent question, Karis. All right, so the last thing is, what is it that you guys are encountering that we as an admin team can do for you? Is there any tools you feel like you need? Is there any, just a reminder, I know some of you that have been here longer, whatever, get those Canva presentations done. We need those because those are kind of what we utilize. Like, we do share those with our charter school. We don't get anything for that, but they are our, if it wasn't for the money that they spend, technically, all that they spend is they buy my books, right? So technically, Jane Garrett books are separate, but 100, well, now it's 80% of the profit from Jane Garrett books, the whole 180 days, 80% of that money goes directly into the company. I do not touch it because this company is growing and we are spending a lot of money on a lot of technology and just stuff that we have to do. Conferences, we're going to more conferences than we've ever done before. So the money goes back in to that. But are there, so we share those PowerPoints with some affiliates. We never charge anybody because though that money that we get through typically book purchases fuels our growth. Okay, so it fuels our growth. It's very important. So make sure you get those ahead, especially if you have some type of emergency. And somebody's got to step in. Usually it's myself or Hannah that will cover classes. If we got to step in, we need that in Canva so that we can see that. So make sure you guys get that done if you need any help with that. Now, is there anything that we can do for you guys, or any ideas that you have that can be, kind of shared quickly that we can discuss in detail later? And let me know if there's anything we can do for you. Now's your chance.
I think my only thing was just to reiterate what I said earlier of this isn't really for right now, but um, this is more for like maybe next year, just having some kind of intro to the LMS, KWN, kind of just the technical stuff for them. I think that would be really good as well. Even if it's just like one of us teachers, even for each class,
Yeah.
walking them through it or something.
Yeah.
But otherwise, everything's been going really well for me. So, and I put it in the chat, but Christian, I've been peeking at your class recordings because I've always wanted to do a graphic novel and they're really cool. And I'm like, you're doing a really good job. Just like the way you're like handling the students and like, I don't know, like talking with them and then letting them say things or asking questions. Like it was just really good. So I was like, oh, this is great. So I was like, oh, I'm gonna steal like just the flow because that is something I will say the chat on Zoom I hate. And so coming up with a flow is harder this year. So I don't know. I just wanted to give Christian a shout out because his work really cool. So anyway,
Thank
that's all
you.
I have.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, this class has been a ton of fun. I honestly feel like I've gotten incredibly lucky with my group. They're just all to be involved, and that's not a given with this age group. But I'm looking forward to learning from the rest of you all too. I can tell you're passionate about writing and teaching, so this is great.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I've peeked at, and I spot check all the videos kind of, but I checked, I think, Christian, your first or second well, first for sure, and I think you're second too. And yeah, it was very fun. And having to be a new instructor, kind of coming on board when everybody else has already been here. Yeah, really, really good, Christian. Good job. The kids in graphic novel tend to be students who have struggled more with writing, but they love reading graphic novels, and so they really, comic books, graphic novels, they really want to do it. So they are a little bit of a specialized group in terms of their desires coming into this. And it's super cool. I personally am really, really excited to see some of these finished graphic novels. Like, I'm excited to get those out on the table. So that'll be amazing. So yes, next year I'm actually been looking at options for creating professional videos, like, well, no, semi-professionals. So thanks to Ariel, we have a great editor, video editor. And so I'm kind of considering doing, setting up a little studio and and I have a Canon 5D Mark IV. Like, that is an awesome pro camera. It has HD video. I don't like making videos. I make them, but I don't actually like it. So I'm kind of figuring it out, but we are looking at professional videos and actually putting some of those online on the website so that parents, when they go and look, we have our FAQ, but we're actually thinking about driving them to that more because they don't always read the emails or get them. So we're working on those, and one of them is producing some professional videos that we can just use year after year to explain some of these things. I don't like our LMS. I've never liked it, but honestly, you guys, at $450 a month, it's the cheapest out there. Everything else runs in the tens of thousands a year, and we only use it 9 months out of the year. The LMS, like I said, at $450 a month, it's the cheapest thing out there, and we don't use all the bells and whistles. We simply do the basics with them. So I don't love the LMS, but it is what it is, and we have it, and it allows us to add that layer of security. So, okay, so I definitely want to give a shout out to our admin team. You guys, if you get a chance to even send them an email, definitely you want to thank them, because your experience in publishing week is their experience in enrollment, like starting school. It's a nightmare. I'm not going to lie. It is such a nightmare. And bless parents. Karis, I get it with I don't have the most patience in the world. And I have had to learn that my first response to parents is always showing kindness and understanding. And I do care. But, sometimes you're like, you don't understand. You're emailing me saying you can't log in or saying you don't know how to do it. And you're only one of 399. Like, do you know what it's like to get that many emails? It is a lot. So the admin team, I had to do it all by myself last year. When we enrolled everybody, I was the only administrator. And that was horrible. And this year we had way more last minute and way less people actually reading the information that they're supposed to read and looking at the things. So big shout out to our admin team. Thank you guys so much. You guys worked really, really hard. If you guys also get any cool ideas, like, hey, have you ever thought about doing this in the program? Please send those over to us. We're always looking to expand and improve. We definitely have some ideas to do some new things for next year. We are pretty excited about that. So send those over to us. And if there are are there any other questions before we sign off? We are ending exactly on time. I am super excited. Okay, so if there are no other questions, you guys should have an email from Ariel with the link for your contractor invoices. Just remember that this is direct deposit, and I don't control the timing. I believe they say 5 business days. That's why in your contract it states that I think your payday is not till the 10th. Because of that, even though I process everything as soon as possible. When everybody's done, I process as soon as possible. Yes, Karis, go ahead.
Sorry. We also need to do the instructor evaluation as well, correct?
Yes.
And what does that do each month?
Thank you. Thank you. I completely spaced on that. And Christian, this will be new for you. Okay, here's the thing. In general, I'm going to check up on you guys, especially those of you that are new. I have to. It's my business. This is all I've got, and I've worked hard to get where we're at. So I check up on you guys because you are the program. Okay, you are the program. When it was just me, it was fine. However, I believe in self-awareness, that you don't need me babysitting you, and so you will get one review from me at the end of the year, and that usually is tied to, am I going to renew your contract next year, kind of thing. So you'll get one, chat with me at the end of the school year. But the self-evaluation forms, and Christian, this will be new to you. Self-evaluation forms are essentially a short little Google document that you fill out before you fill out your contract or invoice. All it is it's a set of questions. You evaluate yourself, okay? So when I'm watching these videos, and I have been so busy with the administrative end of getting everybody in, that I'm just now going through this week and next week to start watching more videos of your classes. When I do that, when I notice things, I don't want to have to say anything to you. If I feel like those things are like, hey, we need to maybe change that or not do that, or hey, have you considered this? If I notice things, I would prefer that you self-regulate and always try to improve what you're doing. So the self-evaluation forms are very short. You just evaluate yourself. We do them. I'm considering how often, but for the first couple of months, you will definitely do them. It might have some questions on there for you to evaluate yourself, and you didn't even think about that. You're like, oh, I never really thought about that. So essentially, if I feel like there's an issue that I might have to mention, and by issue, we're talking about quality, not disciplinary. You guys are, I'm not your disciplinarian. So quality, this is quality. I want to have the best quality classes, guys, because again, you guys have control over whether people like, my program or not. Okay, so that's a lot of trust I'm putting in you guys. So if I see something that I think is going to affect us as a program, I don't feel like I want to say anything to you if you're already aware of it. So that's what the self-evaluation is for. You guys are adults. You are experts in your area. And the self-evaluation is a chance for you to, just say, hey, I'm aware of this, or yeah, I think I'm doing great in this area. Yes, Karis.
Sorry, I feel like I normally don't talk this
No, you're
much.
good.
Um, I was curious. I just wanted to say, I didn't know if this was the case for anybody else, but the kids in my class, they somehow can like scribble on my screen. Um, and I didn't know if that was the case. I saw it in one of Christian's class recordings that I watched too, and I was like, oh, I'm not the only one. Um, so it's really annoying, and that's actually what I was gonna put for the
It's a Zoom setting.
on my self evaluation form is I have struggled mostly with just I get distracted or like some kids were doing that and I had to tell them to stop and then I like literally could not I was answering a kid's question and then
Yeah.
the Zoom chat changed because of the way it changes and then I was like crap, what kid was I answering the question? It was just not good. So is that something we're able to change, do you know? And like is it just somewhere in Zoom settings?
So I had sent an email on this, but okay. So first of all, the writing on it, you can change it in the Zoom settings. Ariel, will you follow up on that and make sure that you send everybody the information on how to fix that? I think it's not whiteboard. There's something where, yeah, they can write on it. That happened to me last year, and I did change it. I fixed it, but it's been 8 months. I don't remember how I fixed it. Um, so she will send that out. And then the chat, according to Zoom, they changed it and you cannot revert back. We had to go through, because I was told by Zoom we could and follow these steps. And I tried to follow them and I'm like, yeah, those steps are not there. So I had to go through tech support, took a couple of days. They're like, yeah, sorry, no, we've just changed it. And I'm like, you don't understand. That might be fine for meetings or whatever, but the way we do things, that affects us a lot. Like that has totally changed my ability in my classes. So I'm pushing my kids to raise their hand and ask their questions. The problem with that is they can get long-winded, So you could do it like have them raise their hand if they have a question in the chat, and then they could put it down, have them do maybe not a raised hand, maybe there's another emoji they could, I don't know, guys, but I do have it. I think I might have emailed Ariel already, but maybe not yet. I was like, can we start to, if they're not going to change it back or give us an option, we might want to start looking because that chat feature is very important to me. That's super important. So um, that's a classroom thing. Like we can't even do, I always did the competition things like, okay, fast, we call them fastest fingers. What is this? Fastest fingers. What is that? I can't tell anymore. I can't because, and then again, I can't tell what's a question notification and what's a comment notification. And I mostly get comments. So that's a huge problem. So we are working on it. Find your workarounds for now. Yes, Hannah?
Okay. So I've had some experience in classrooms, not with teaching, like in other classrooms with different like things aside from Zoom. So like Google, what was it? Google
Google
something?
Classroom?
The like Google Meeting, and then yeah, and then one from Adobe as well. So, I believe the one from Adobe, at least when I was there, had a ton more options for like chat. Like you could completely disable it and you could choose when it was available and when it wasn't. So,
Yeah, so the issue is going to be what integrates with our LMS. So I've already thought about all those. Google Classroom has expanded quite a lot. But what integrates with our LMS? Because if it doesn't integrate, what's our next level of security? So yes, these are all true and good. It was just a little bit lower agenda because we can't change right now, right? So if we can find something that works really well, because I hate constant changes. So if we can find something that works for security and functionality. So just remember, to me, security is more important than functionality. And so if we find something that works, we might make the change during Christmas break. So that way it's a better, kind of timing. So we will figure that out. But Ariel, I know I don't even think I sent you the email, but it might even be saved in my drafts from like 2 weeks ago when I found out we couldn't change the chat. Can you double check the LMS for the integrated live lecture software that they use? I know that Zoom's only one of them.
Yeah, Zoom, Microsoft Teams, and Meet.
Google Meets.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then Microsoft Teams.
I hate Microsoft. Does anybody have it? Okay. Does anybody here, Christian? I know you do some other stuff. Does anybody have any experience with Google Meets and Microsoft? Whatever she said. Does anybody? Nobody.
Can I
Kiara?
interrupt? Yeah. Yeah, we because I also teach, I use Google and then MS Teams. But if you're going to ask me which one is better, I think it would be MS Teams for security and for online classes as well, because we also use it. And I agree. Chat boxes and messages are really important when it comes to online classes, and MS Teams, when we use it for online classes, it's really good. The features for the messages and class interaction is really good. Even the sharing of screens or presentations is really well with MS Teams. And I think for the security, it's also good as well.
I really appreciate you saying that. Okay, Ariel, can you put that on agenda for the admin team? Because we have admin meetings about every 2 weeks. Let's put that on the agenda to start figuring that out because it's a big deal to me. So, and then we'll probably make the change. We might even be able to do it in November. I'm not 100% sure over Thanksgiving break, but we should make the change over a break. It's going to be best to do it over Christmas because we have the 3 weeks. So, okay, excellent. Any other questions before I let you guys go? All right, super productive. My final thing is I really, really, really want to emphasize that there are a lot of ways I can run this company to be more profitable. Like, I don't have to. We can look at the fee structure. We can look at how we're spending our money. There's a lot of ways, but the bottom line is I'm here because as a homeschool mom, I love what we do. I love all the years of students I've had that I still even have contact with. I have a mom who's got a former student who emailed me and wants, to talk to me and just pray together over some stuff. You know what I mean? So there's relationships that we form through this, guys, and I am looking for a team that has the same motivation. We are not, if you're here because it's just a job, I would just kind of encourage you to think that through. Like, and this is not because there's any problems. I just want to make sure, this is kind of a thing that I usually do at the staff training. But we didn't. I wanted to keep the staff training kind of short at the time. So I'm saying it today at our first meeting is I just really want to make sure that my team is all on the same page, that we do what we do because of the experiences these kids have that ultimately changes their life at this point in their history, right? So at this point in their young lives, they have done something that is amazing. Getting their book published, self-published is such a big deal to them that it affects them years later. I have advanced students that have been in the program for several years, and it just changes them. Okay, so you guys have the complete control over that type of creative inspiration. So just everything that you're doing in classes and the effort that you're putting in KWN, in class, whatever it is you're doing, just remember whatever you can do as an instructor to facilitate, like Christian saying, like, my kids really want to draw, so I'm kind of adding a little bit of that in now. Absolutely, guys. Just always be thinking about ways that within reason you can inspire their creativity, and encourage them and really make this program everything that it's capable of. Okay, this will never be a get rich company. I laugh with my husband because my last company where I was in homeschool education, but it was way more broad in person, was like 5 times more profitable. But this one, I'm not going to lie, it's 5 times more inspiring, because I do get to see all these kids at the conferences. You guys are changing their life. I have seen parents in tears multiple times, multiple times. The kids are just, they become different people when they finish this class. So I just want to encourage you guys. I want to thank you guys for what you're doing. It's incredibly important. All right. So we are going to sign off. Thank you, everybody. I appreciate it. Have a great week in classes, and let us know if you need anything. Okay. Bye.